And first of all, the government announced today that UK startups focusing on sustainable technology have attracted more than £2 billion of investment this year, from renewable energy to carbon-free flying taxis. Innovation is helping drive that transition to net zero, but is it enough? Well, let's talk about this then. Laura Young, a record amount of money for these so-called impact startups. That's only got to be good news, hasn't it?
I think it is really great news that we're beginning to see so much investment in sustainable business. And I think it's important that we're beginning to move all sectors towards this. The one thing I worry about, though, when we talk about green tech is that we often try and think about how we can design our way out of the climate crisis, when often we need to also be having a conversation about less consumption and actually returning backwards to ways that are less damaging for the planet. I think some of the businesses that you mentioned earlier are great. I'm wearing some kind of secondhand fashion, so I know that's one I've benefited from myself. But I do worry when we think about flying taxis or more electric cars and more batteries, that we maybe miss a conversation of how we can make things like public transport more affordable and accessible, because that's just as important a climate solution as well as advancing in a technological way. And so I just really hope that some of the money also goes towards advancing tech-wise the systems that we already have, and not just thinking about new design solutions that are kind of really futuristic and fun.
Stuart Roberts, do you agree with that? There needs to be more of a joined-up conversation and more of a focus on reducing consumption rather than relying on new whizzy tech ideas?
Yeah, I think, look, it's a combination of both. And for me, I see some really exciting technology solutions in agriculture, whether that be feed additives that can reduce methane, whether that be methane tractors or solar-powered robots to weed crops. I think that's all really exciting stuff. But for me, it's also about not just looking at tech to solve this. There's a consumption side, as Laura said, but it's also about looking at things like, particularly in agriculture, carbon sequestration. So how can we take that carbon out of the atmosphere through our soils, through our grassland? So tech, it can be exciting, it can be fun, but equally, it's not the sole solution.
But isn't there an issue, Laura, of keeping people on side? Some of these exciting, innovative ideas will allow people to carry on their lives as they were before, but in a greener way. Doesn't technology help them do that? And you've got to keep the public committed.
I would maybe worry that we're really struggling to actually live the way that we currently live at a sustainable rate. And I'm not really sure green tech will be the solution for that. Actually, I would love to see this investment into ways that we can do things in a more sustainable way and kind of returning back to some of the more simpler solutions. But we can also have some really fun tech solutions within the systems that we already have, instead of just trying to create new industries above the ones that we already have. And I think it's just about shifting that mindset. And although it might not be as fun, it's still possible, and it still allows for a lot of growth and a lot of economic growth as well.
And I'm just going to remind everyone of what John Kerry said, Stuart. He rather controversially said that 50% of the reductions we have to make by 2050 or 2045 are going to come from technologies we don't yet have. I mean, a lot of people disputed that figure. But do you think that governments are caught up with this idea of being over-reliant on technology as well?
Yeah, I think for me, it's about that balance. So I think technology will help us on that journey, absolutely. And I can see some areas in agriculture where there will be technology in future to solve things we don't even know about it yet. But some of it is also about looking at just how we do things. So for me, the classic is the hedgerow. We can sequester a lot more carbon in our hedgerows by managing them slightly different. They add to our landscape, but they're maybe not quite as sexy and exciting as some of the tech, but actually can have a as big, if not bigger, impact. And those are some of the areas we've got to spend equal amounts of resources and time on.